She had no shoes, no family, and nowhere left to go. The lonely mountain man had spent years praying for someone to help him keep his broken homestead alive, but he never imagined that the answer would arrive barefoot, starving, and carrying nothing except courage. The town laughed when he welcomed the stranger into his home. They called him a fool, but before winter ended, that shoeless woman would save far more than his ranch. She would heal the lonely heart he thought was beyond saving. Stay until the very end because the final choice she makes will leave you believing that kindness is the greatest treasure anyone can give. Before we begin, please like this video and subscribe to the channel for more heartwarming Wild West stories where kindness always triumphs over cruelty. For nearly 10 years, Nathan Cole lived alone on a forgotten mountain homestead tucked between pine-covered hills and endless prairie. Every sunrise found him repairing fences, chopping wood, tending a few cattle, and thanking God for another day, even though silence had become his only companion. The little cabin showed the wear of countless winters. The roof leaked whenever storms rolled across the mountains, the barn leaned slightly to one side, and every chore took twice as long because there was no one left to lend a hand. The townsfolk respected Nathan because he never cheated anyone, and always helped neighbors during difficult seasons, but they also whispered that loneliness had become his closest friend. He never complained. A man who has food, honest work and peace has more than many, he often told himself. One hot afternoon, he rode his old horse into the frontier town to buy nails and flour. As he passed the general store, something unusual caught his attention. Besides a weathered sign asking for farm hands, sat a young woman in a torn dress. Her feet were bare, scratched, and bleeding from miles of walking. Dust covered her face, yet she carried herself with quiet dignity instead of begging. Most people walked around her without even looking. Nathan slowed his horse. The woman lowered her eyes expecting another stranger to ignore her. Instead he stepped down and gently asked, "Ma'am, have you eaten today?" Tears filled her tired eyes as she quietly admitted she had not eaten since yesterday morning. Nathan bought bread, dried meat, and warm coffee before sitting beside her on the wooden boardwalk. She thanked him with such sincere gratitude that he realized hunger had not stolen her kindness. Her name was Clara Bennett. She explained that after her parents died from illness, the relatives who promised to care for her had taken her inheritance before forcing her onto the road. She had searched for honest work across several towns, but found only closed doors and cruel words. Nathan listened without interruption. Finally, he stood and offered something she never expected. "I can't promise riches," he said softly, "but I can promise honest work, warm meals, and a roof if you're willing to help around my homestead." Clara stared at him in disbelief. No man had offered help without expecting something in return. She hesitated only long enough to whisper, "I'll earn every meal." Nathan smiled. "That's all I ask." As they rode toward the mountains beneath the golden evening sky, neither realized their lonely journeys had just begun to merge into one path. Clara woke before sunrise the very next morning. While Nathan prepared the horses, she swept the dusty cabin, washed weeks of dirty dishes, patched torn curtains, and cooked the first proper breakfast the little house had seen in years. Nathan returned from feeding the cattle and paused in the doorway, surprised by the smell of fresh biscuits and coffee. For the first time in many seasons, laughter echoed inside the lonely cabin. Clara refused to be treated as a guest. She milked cows, gathered eggs, planted vegetables, mended clothes, and even learned to repair sections of broken fence beside Nathan. Though her feet still ached, she never complained. Each evening they shared simple meals while talking about their pasts. Nathan admitted he had once dreamed of raising a family before losing his parents and younger brother to a harsh winter epidemic. Clara quietly confessed she had almost lost hope after months of rejection, believing no place remained where kindness still existed. Little by little the homestead changed. Flowers bloomed beside the porch. Fresh paint brightened the weathered fence. The neglected garden produced vegetables once again. Neighbors passing by noticed smoke rising from the chimney and cheerful voices replacing years of silence. Not everyone welcomed the change. A wealthy ranch owner named Victor Harlan mocked Nathan in town, claiming the shoeless woman was only waiting for a better opportunity to leave. Others repeated cruel gossip suggesting Clara would steal from him or disappear before winter. Nathan ignored every insult. "Character is measured by actions, not rumors," he calmly replied. Clara overheard those words one afternoon and quietly wiped away tears. No one had defended her before. Winter clouds soon gathered across the mountains. Together they stacked firewood, repaired the barn roof, and stored enough food for the cold months ahead. One icy evening, a fierce snowstorm trapped a family traveling nearby. Nathan and Clara welcomed the frightened parents and children into their cabin, without hesitation, sharing blankets, soup, and every of firewood they could spare. Watching Clara comfort the frightened children, while risking her own comfort, stirred something inside Nathan that he hadn't felt for years: hope. As Christmas approached, the lonely house no longer felt empty, it felt like home. Spring melted the last snow, revealing green fields stretching beneath brilliant blue skies. Nathan's once-forgotten homestead had become one of the most beautiful properties in the valley. Travelers often stopped to admire the thriving garden and repaired barn, asking who had transformed the place. Nathan always smiled and pointed toward Clara, who insisted the credit belonged to both of them. Then one afternoon, two well-dressed men arrived claiming to represent Clara's distant relatives. They had learned she was living safely on Nathan's land, and suddenly wanted her to return so they could rebuild the family. Clara immediately recognized their greed. They had abandoned her when she had nothing. Now that they heard the homestead was prospering, they wanted control again. Nathan quietly stepped forward but said nothing. He believed the decision belonged entirely to Clara. The men promised comfortable houses, servants, and money if she returned. Clara looked toward the little cabin where she had found her first warm meal in months. She remembered the bleeding feet, the lonely road, and the stranger who never asked for anything except honesty. Then she smiled gently and answered, "Family isn't the people who left me hungry. Family is the man who gave me bread when everyone else walked away." The men left speechless. Nathan lowered his head, overwhelmed by emotion. Weeks later, beneath blooming wildflowers outside the cabin, Nathan asked Clara if she would stay, not as a worker but as his wife and partner for the rest of their lives. Tears filled her eyes as she whispered the easiest answer she had ever given. "I've been home since the day you offered me kindness." Their simple wedding brought together neighbors for miles around, including many who once doubted them. Even Victor Harlan admitted he had judged them unfairly. In time, the lonely homestead became known throughout the frontier as a place where no hungry traveler was ever turned away. Children laughed across the fields, strangers found shelter during storms, and every visitor left believing that goodness could still change lives. Nathan often said he had prayed for someone to help him fix his homestead, but God had sent someone who repaired something far more important: his heart. And Clara never forgot that one act of compassion had turned a barefoot wanderer into the happiest woman on the frontier. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who still believes kindness can change the world. Until next time, remember, the richest people are not those who own the most, but those who give the most.